All right, guys. While spring practice rages on, while there's a new Ohio State running backs coach, as you heard earlier in the podcast, we're still at the point where that the perfect part of the spring, where because spring practice rolls on, we do get to hear from some of the better and bigger characters, and none is bigger. There's no bigger character in college football than Deion Sanders, and fresh off a real strong 5-win season that several weeks into last season, people anointed him as the
Started
future of
4-0
college
though.
football. Hey, you started good for you. Um, Now Dion is making waves again. And listen, when like you and I didn't talk about this, but the Shador Sanders Travis Hunter thing. Oh, there's going to be an Eli Manning. It was like that's just Dion is always in the business of Dion, which is great, or in the business
Well,
of pumping up people.
what I thought was the funniest thing about that was that he basically just named all the teams that he played for.
Yeah,
He was like, "There's going to be we're going to preference certain teams," and then he was like, like Atlanta and Dallas and Baltimore and San Francisco, and it was like, so literally you're just going to preference all the teams that you played for. So you're like not even giving them a choice. It's like, okay, you can only play for the teams that I know you should play for, and that's it. Like that doesn't make any damn sense.
yeah. It's funny. I don't remember him saying Washington, where he also
He no,
played.
he
I
did say, he
believe.
did say Washington too. Actually, I
So it's
forgot
not
that
even
one.
about the quality of the organization. It's
That's
just
what that's the one that's funny because it's like, yeah, you played there, and so you're gonna have some. I guess you're gonna be somewhat impartial to. Okay, I like Washington because I played there, but of all the places you played, like that was the most dysfunctional all these years. And I guess now you have a new owner, so you're hoping it's gonna be different. But you're basic. He truly was just basing this off of the places that he played, which is the goofiest thing about it.
Now, his latest comments, which you can explain a little bit more here, have to do with um, old old Dion's roster building. Am I correct in that?
Yeah, yeah. So there was an article written, and the guy he actually said in classic Dion fashion, like he said, whoever wrote this, I don't. He was like, I don't remember who wrote it, but if you're here, if you're in the room, like feel free to just like raise your hand, like we did in grade school when we get the teacher to call. It was like he. He's always got to make this like sideshow about the people in the room who are writing these stories and stuff, which is kind of I like it, and then it's also kind of just dumb at the same time. But and this guy wrote a story about how he doesn't really do recruiting trips. And so Dion kind of went on this spiel about why he doesn't do recruiting trips and how his emphasis is always on the portal. So we'll play the clip here. It's kind of a longer clip. It's almost 3 minutes long, but it's worth every second of it. And there's a lot to sort of dissect on the other side of it.
Okay. My approach, it's totally different than many coaches' approach. Um, Sometimes I'm a businessman as well, so I try to save our university money every darn chance I get. So for me to go to, let's just say I'm going to Florida and I'm visiting whatever school, IMG. You don't think those coaches going to be a little upset if I don't come by the school down the street? You don't think it's going to be pandemonium if I'm going to get naysayed if I don't go another 45 minutes? Then if I go to that one, then I go, well, I didn't come to that school. Now the coach is mad, so he's not going to let the kid come because he's mad because I chose that, go to that school over that school. See, other coaches, they could do that, but I can't. I can't. And I've really pretty much done a personal survey. I really, truly, in all my heart, believe that parents don't want me at their house. They want to come see my house. They want to see how I live, how I get down. They want to see what I got going on, what God has done in my life. I know when I was in college, I did not want Bobby Bowden in my house because I knew after 7 o'clock it was going to be rats and roaches on parade doing their thing. So that was just straight up honesty. I didn't. So that never transpired. That never happened for me. And we target mostly guys that's in the portal. When do you make visits to portal guys' homes? Anybody do that? Do they do that? I don't do it. Anybody? Have you guys heard of that? I don't. I think when a guy is in his 20s and he has 1 or 2 more shots, he don't give a darn about the picture. He don't give a darn about the parade that you want to take him on. He wants to know, okay, How are you going to use me? How can you help me get to the league? And what am I going to get paid? That's it. That's the world we live in now. I have never heard one guy say, I chose this college because this coach came by my crib. Have you? It's different now. The parents, I love them. And I want to show them Boulder. I want them to see this and how beautiful it is and why I'm so eager and how much I love this city and this state and this team. I want them to see that because guess what? That's where the kid is coming. The kid coming here. Going there is just showcase for me. That's just blowing money. It's blowing a bag. Don't make sense. And I can't do the things other coaches can do. You know why? I'm Coach Prime.
Lot of humility there, a lot of respect. Yeah, that was prime Deion Sanders.
Prime.
Yeah, that is just, I mean, almost at this point, it's like pure performance art because that was some bullshittery of the highest level.
So I want to preface this by saying I can appreciate some of the perspective that he brings, like where he makes the comment about how he didn't want Bobby Bowden in his house because it was rats. Like, I think that's like he has a different perspective than I think other people would on like being on the other side of it, right? Like we all think, oh yeah, coach shows up to your house, but like if you're embarrassed by where you live, I can understand why maybe your recruit's like, I don't know if I want coach coming here. So I do think there's probably some truth to that specific part of it. But I did think the fact that he prefaced that by saying like, I've conducted a personal survey. First of all, anytime somebody says they conducted a personal survey, they're full of shit. They did not conduct a personal survey.
What I believe he's saying is he's done his own research. I believe that's
those two things basically are the same. But I like for him to say a player doesn't pick a school because X coach showed up at their house, I think that's just patently false. Like I think part of the
we hear it literally every year.
Look at Jim Harbaugh. Jim Harbaugh did some of the goofiest stuff to recruit kids. He would sleep over in the room, like bring his own sleeping bag, roll it up with rope around it, and spend the night in the kid's room and talk till midnight about whatever, the birds, the bees, I don't know. And then the kid would come to Michigan the next year. Like, you can't tell me that stuff. I understand that, yeah, the money's top line now. And that, yeah, the school and what you're kind of providing for them when they come to the school, that obviously matters as well. But you can't tell me that like at the core of all of this still is relationship building, and that doing that by going to visit the parents, going to their house and seeing them and being there for them and seeing how they live to be like, hey, we want to get you out of this situation, that stuff doesn't matter at all. And I understand why he uses the portal as much as he does. And his point on like, well, portal kids, you don't go to their houses. Okay, fine. I can understand that. But in the same breath though, the teams that have the most success aren't only using the portal. You have to be able to, it's just like building through the draft in the NFL. The teams that go out and they just spend in free agency every year and they spend all this big money and everyone's like, oh man, this team got a lot better. Those teams generally don't end up having the success that we think they're going to have. And then they go, when you develop through the draft and you build through the draft and then you add pieces through free agency, that's how it usually works. In college, I think we're seeing the same trend. You got to have your base. You got to build through recruiting. You got to build through these great classes that come in, and then you add ancillary pieces through the portal. He's doing it the opposite, and that's fine. And maybe it works out. But I can't wrap my head around the idea that he thinks like he can't do what other coaches do. Like, I just don't think you want to do what other coaches do.
I think that's the brass tacks. Like, I want to save the university money. That is the biggest single lie. And not a damn person believes him.
No.
Nobody believes. Yeah. The guy who wouldn't go to Colorado unless it was the all-time contract high, right? Remember they had to get like special approval. They didn't have the money when they hired Deion. Yeah. They had, but they're like, we'll get it.
And then he paid for himself with the win streak they went on to start the year.
Yeah.
But yeah,
with those 4 wins they won this year. But no, I mean, listen, I don't dislike Deion, but it's just stuff like this. Like nobody believes it's about saving money. It's about you don't want to do it.
Yeah.
And here's the problem. Coaches that don't want to do the recruiting usually don't end up building winning teams. I mean, Chip Kelly talked about the overwhelming nature of being a head coach. Dan Mullen, reportedly has not really embraced full-time coaching after the Florida exit because it doesn't really like recruiting anymore. It's a 24/7 job. So I just don't know how, and I think it's a fascinating social experiment how any coach can be like, hey, what arguably might be the most important part of my job, which is recruiting the right high school players and using that as your long-term base, and then using the portal to supplement that. I think it's fascinating that there's head coaches just like, yeah, I don't want to, so I won't.
Yeah.
And I'm
Well,
not, and more importantly, so I'm not going to really use players from that spot. It's not even I don't want to go there. Like they don't even have invites to come to Deion. Like that, it is. And no. We'll get like 2 or 3 of you, or 10 of you, or whatever, and then the rest of the kids get me in the portal. That's a big boom or bust move by Deion.
Like he talks about how if he goes to one school and I don't go to another school, like that coach is going to be pissed. I think it's more of a slap in the face to all those coaches that you're just like, yeah, I'm just not going to show up at all. Like I'm not going to show up to any schools. So then how are are any of these coaches going to send their kids to Deion if he's not even showing up to any schools? Like I don't understand that at all. And yeah, like to your point on building the base, like if you're building strictly through the portal, and like I said, there's been some teams, I forget what team it was. There was a team out of Texas, I can't remember who it was, that they like went straight portal guys, like got a whole bunch of portal guys, and they actually had a pretty good season this past year. Maybe it was 2 years ago, I don't remember. And so like it can work in like in flash in a pan where you bring a bunch of guys in and they just take off and soar. But I think the other thing is like it's almost like the old saying of once a cheater, always a cheater. Like if somebody cheats on you, they're probably going to do it again, right? I'm simplifying this, but if you're only getting guys in the portal, to me, guys that you get through the portal are always going to have in the back of their mind, like, well, if it doesn't work out here, or I'm not getting enough money, I can just go back in the portal. And I understand there's like a lure to Coach Prime. People are kind of they're attracted to him because of the status he brings and this NFL superstar that he used to be, and the college player that he used to be, and all these different things. So maybe that's enough to keep a guy. But we all know, like, Colorado's resources, like we said, they couldn't even pay Deion the contract that they signed him to. So it's not like Colorado has the resources to go up against a Bama or an Ohio State or whatever. And there'll always be kids that maybe just go strictly because it's Deion. Like Travis Hunter, for example, he clearly wanted to play for Deion Sanders. Great. But I think those are going to be few and far between. And so if you're only getting portal guys, I think in the back of those portal guys that transfer to the portal, I think a lot of times in the back of their mind, there's always that thought that, well, if I don't like it here or the money's not where I want it to be, I'll just go back in the portal and get more money elsewhere. And I think that's what we saw with Caden Proctor, right? Like, okay, I can get more money back at Bama. I'm just going to go back. So I don't know that he gets like, I just don't know how that philosophy is going to like fly like long-term with him. And I think it's probably why that'll probably be his demise as a head coach in terms of how high he can actually get in the college ranks. Now, maybe some program like FSU or somebody, I mean, FSU is fine right now, but maybe there's some big program that's like, we just want the economy that comes with Deion and to see what happens in the same way Colorado did, but maybe they have more resources and they give it a shot. But I don't know, man. Like this just seems so short-sighted. It is very Deion, like you said, but it really does feel like he just doesn't want to do the things that he's saying these other coaches can do, and he apparently can't. It's wild.
Yeah. I think, listen, if it works out, you'll see more people trying to emulate it. If it doesn't, you're going to see people say, see, that's why we don't do it that way. All right, guys, that does it for the show. We will be back later in the week as we get you ready and continue to get you ready for the spring game. But please make sure to follow the show wherever you get your podcast, Apple, Spotify, 923thefan.com, the free Odyssey app. Have I mentioned Apple? Follow Sons of the Shoe. We do appreciate it. Subscribe to the 923 The Fan YouTube channel. And please make sure to like our videos as well. Leave us comments. We love your little comments. Spencer, good stuff, buddy.
Always a pleasure, Nick. Can't wait to do it again.
Go Bucks.